going on in there?
Hey gamer girls, my name is Gunty, and on today's video of games you don't want Mima to walk in on you playing, we have the very Japanese, the very horny, the very schizophrenic, but still very fun game, the Citadel. If you're new to the channel, this video might seem strange. You might be saying, I thought this guy made fun of weirdos on the internet and talked about topical internet drama. Now you are correct, but only half correct. You see, on this channel, I kind of talk about whatever I want to. About half the time that is internet weird stuff, big news, drama, internet culture type videos, and the other half is talking about weird video game niche topics. So whatever catches my interest in a given day or a given week, that's what I'll make my videos about. And a lot of you are probably saying, well, there's so much good and interesting drama and news happening on the internet right now. But honestly, it's all kind of just accusations of people being a pedophile. It's just he's a pedophile, she's a pedophile, he, we, we're all pedophiles, everybody's a pedophile. That's every video that's drama or commentary right now, is just accusing people of being pedophiles. And sure, some of these people are probably pedophiles, but I'm just not qualified to talk about it, and it's just dark subject matter. So I'm going to talk about a weird Japanese video game, because why not? Now, the Citadel is a fast-paced boomer shooter set in a dystopian sci-fi setting using very interesting anime aesthetics and using storytelling much like the Dark Souls vein that's kind of cryptic and picked up through interactions with various NPC characters. Now, the story follows our main waifu female character on her trip to basically kill a bunch of angels and God or whatever. This is one of those schizophrenic, crazy, cryptic stories, much in line with like Fear and Hunger. This is one of those indie games. This isn't some gimmicky platformer. No, this is a real man's indie game. Now, I'm gonna be honest. When I play boomer shooters, I do not give a shit about the story. I don't pay any attention. I move forward and I kill things with fun weapons. That's how boomer shooters are meant to be played. These are not story-based games. If you're here for the story, good for you, but I did not take a second of interest in the story of this game. So keep that in mind with this review. Now for me, instead of a story in a boomer shooter, what I really care about is the atmosphere, and this game has tons of it. It is super bleak with very moody soundtrack that's very ambient, not super loud. It's a very quiet game that makes you kind of think about what's going on and what you're looking at and just really taking it all in. Now the setting itself, the Citadel as it is called in the game, is kind of just this generic background that doesn't really change throughout the game. And I'm going to be honest, it does kind of feel a little lazy and it's not that interesting. But the game does kind of get a pass because of the narrative and the bleakness of it. I guess that's kind of just canonically how it's supposed to look. Now, gameplay is where this game truly shines. The weapon variety is so fun. The guns are varied and very interesting. They chose really interesting designs. They went for a more retro firearm style than a super, futuristic and modern. There are like very futuristic and modern guns, but there's also like very old school feeling weapons. The shotgun feels pretty nice. It could be a little bit better, but the enemy variety is so interesting and fun. There's giant tanks you'll fight. There's, these mech guys that have flamethrowers, and the enemy design and the enemy variety is top notch for a smaller indie game like this. The guns also introduce an aim down sights mechanic, but it's not very useful outside of like just looking cool and feeling fun to use, because it introduces weapon sway that's not existent when you're not aiming down sights. So not aiming down sights makes your gun a lot more accurate, which is kind of a backward system I don't really get. There are also RPG mechanics in the form of the trader that appears throughout the game, which you can buy supplies and also upgrades for yourself. And I'll talk about this a little bit later, but this mechanic is kind of abusive when it comes to the boss fights, in that there's not really a limit to the amount of things you can buy so long as you have the money for it. Now, to get into some of the more negative components of this game, there is a hunger system and like an oxygen maintenance system alongside of a health system that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me, and in my playthrough didn't seem super obtrusive or like necessary. It just seemed like something they threw in there just to have. another system in the game to maybe, give the idea of there being more depth to this game than there actually is mechanically. Like I said before, the game's economy is also kind of a knock in that since a lot of the bosses just kind of end up being just mega bullet sponges, you can just buy a bunch of rockets right before the boss fight and just use those to kind of spam the enemy and never really have to learn any of the boss's tactics or strategies or patterns. A lot of the bosses are super exploitable too. Like the first boss you can beat just by crouching and just popping up and exploiting the rocket launcher, or just any gun you have really given enough time and you'll beat it without taking really any kind of damage, and there seems to be like no workaround for stopping this, and it felt kind of weird. Now my last kind of knock on the game is really the anime like waifu aesthetic. I don't really get how it adds to the game. It really kind of distracts from it and takes away from the whole bleak aesthetic when you play as like a like I said, like a waifu anime girl and you can look down at your tits. Like I don't really get it. I don't know if it's like this Nier Automata thing. I understand this is like a super Japanese thing where the creators are just super horny for their creation, like a perverted Frankenstein. But I think it just takes away from the game. It's just weird, and the enemies are also kind of like waifu anime girls. And am I getting old? Do I just not get it? Do I need to get with the times? Is this what the kids like? I don't know. Maybe I'm just a boomer. Let me know down in the comments if this is just a lack of true skibbity riz. But hey, maybe this is a plus for you. I mean, this is probably the first gooner shooter I can think of. And yes, I am going to be copywriting and trademarking that phrase. Do not take it. It's mine. I came up with it, I think. I don't know. Maybe someone else has used it. I really hope somebody else didn't come up with this and I heard it on Twitter or whatever, and now I'm just infringing on their sort of joke. But I digress. Honestly, I really like this game. I think it introduces a lot of fun stuff. I think there's mechanics that can be elevated upon and things that can be done to make this even better and more interesting. Like I said, maybe reworking the hunger system, reworking some of the bosses, continuing to double down on the really interesting weapon design and weapon variety. And I think this game could be really good, which is great because there is a sequel to this game supposedly coming out pretty soon called Beyond Citadel, and I'm pretty pumped for that. I've seen a couple videos on the demo for that game, and it looks really interesting. Ultimately, I recommend this game because it is so interesting. This is why I love these darker, weirder indie games like Fear and Hunger and this game and Signalis and all those, I don't know, just weird, grim, dark, horror-inspired, maybe anime-inspired too games. I think they're just super interesting, and they're super fun, and it's just out of left field, and that's something that's so missing in modern game design when you look at stuff like that Suicide Squad game. I mean, that's just pure garbage, and that costs like $70. The Citadel costs like probably like $10 on Steam, and it's a way more interesting experience, and you'll get a lot more time out of it, honestly. And with that, I think this is where I'm going to close out today's video. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see me talk about whatever I like talking about on this channel and indie games like this one, please consider subscribing. It helps me out a lot. This is a new channel for me. I took a long hiatus and I've come back. I'm trying really hard to promote this channel and just take it to places as high as they can go. I mean, just crazy numbers. But if you didn't like this video and you don't like me, make sure you dislike and leave a hate comment. Please tell all your friends about how bad this video was. Spread it on Twitter, Instagram, Truth Social, whatever you got. Just spread the hate to as many people as you humanly can. And if you're recently new to the channel and you kind of joined up for all the drama and internet culture stuff, I hope this video doesn't turn you off, and maybe you're just weird and maybe kind of autistic like me and just like a bunch of random interesting internet video game stuff, and you like that kind of stuff. I would, again, highly recommend you subscribe because it doesn't get any weirder than this.